right, everybody, what's up? This is episode 3 of the Overcut podcast, where we're going to discuss a week late, mind you. But hey,
We got a little bit of a break here. It's fine.
we had a red flag. So we're going to discuss the Australian Grand Prix that took place about a week ago. How did y'all feel about the race overall?
Boring. A little bit boring.
Pretty much the same. It was very long, and it didn't get exciting until the end.
Good thing I didn't stay up to watch it. Us East
I would have
Coasters.
been pissed.
Not about that at all. We were texting. I got home. The rare time I got home late. It's like 12:45 a.m. and race starts in 15 minutes. And I was like, do I dare do this? And thank goodness I did not, because I would have been up till 4.
Yeah, you can't really trust it, man. You can't trust it. Like qualifying is different. Like we might could watch that, try to watch that live or whatever, but the race, it's just too many variables, man. You know, those, because if I would have saw that first red flag, that's when I would have started going and was like, all right,
time to go to bed.
Yeah. All right, so starting out through the race, what was it? Sergio started, main story coming from qualifying. Sergio started from pit lane because he spun it in qualifying and got stuck in the gravel. After he had been complaining for like those first couple of days about the car. And then
He said the brakes have been bad.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the thing where his brakes may be different than Max's.
But I don't know. Max has had those same issues.
Won the last race, so maybe.
Oh, you're talking about Jos Verstappen? He maybe was in there tinkering.
Yeah, maybe Jos got to Sergio's brakes. You never know. But yeah. So other than that, wasn't all the leaders started on mediums? It looks like. I think Sergio started on hards because he planned to go long on that first stint.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things one of the standouts, I guess, from the broadcast was them talking about how many fans were there. Did you hear him say, like, during that, they had 444,000 fans in attendance throughout that weekend.
Jesus Christ. No, I didn't hear that.
Wow.
Yeah, they said it was like 444,000 fans in attendance throughout the weekend at the Aussie GP.
Yeesh.
That's sick.
Sounds like some bread is being made in there in F1.
Yeah. F1 is an expensive sport.
That's insane. So yeah, I guess we'll go through the top 10 at least, and then give a little bit of a recap. So, of course, our winner was, drum roll, Max Verstappen in the Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I guess bright side, for people who didn't see the race, you could lie to him and say, well, Max only won the race by 1/10 of a second.
That's right, exactly.
So it was close at the end.
Lewis was right on him.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, Max took home his second win of the season, the second win out of 3 races.
3 wins for Red Bull in a row, though. That's tough.
Yeah, 3 in a row for Red Bull.
Technically easy wins, all 3. Very easy.
Yeah, pretty convincing wins for all of them. So that's about where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you did have Lewis come home in second place. That was a good finish for him. He looked.
There you go.
Lewis looked
competitive.
Quick. Yeah, he looked quick all weekend, really.
Yeah. They both look good. Yeah, qualifying too.
Yeah, he looked good all weekend. I know he had made that pass on Max going into turn 3 on the first lap, and for a little bit it was Mercedes 1-2 right there for
7 laps, I think.
Yeah, for a couple laps. Yeah, a couple laps there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you had finishing out on the podium, you had Fernando.
Yeah.
Getting that's 3 podiums in a row, isn't it?
Yeah, he's feeling good over there.
Yeah, three podiums in a row for Aston. And then you had Lance coming in right behind him. So good weekend for Aston again, finishing third and fourth.
Yeah, especially with George with the engine issue. So Mercedes took a hit there.
Papa
Yeah, how
Stroll was really
deserving it was,
excited.
I don't know, but we'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
And then rounding out the top five, you had Sergio, who started from pit lane, but Sergio was probably like the most exciting driver to watch all race because some of those passes he was making were
Insane.
yeah, nothing was wrong with the brakes then.
But he looked easy. I mean, he made it look easy. That DRS on that car made it look real easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he made some crazy passes out there. And then shock for me in sixth place, you got Lando Norris bringing McLaren. Was their first points of the season?
Yeah, they were nowhere near the points first 2 weeks.
They had 2 DNFs, I think, in 3 weeks. So they're glad to see this.
Yeah, he looked. Yeah. I mean, the McLaren looked formidable again. Not like being at the top at all, but back to kind of the a regular midfield team, maybe. So maybe they found something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those points definitely came when they needed to for them.
It was looking dark over there.
So then you had Joe's guy, Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah, Mike.
coming in seventh place, getting 6 points for Haas.
He should have had a podium.
Yeah, the Goonth was not pleased with
Look at him up there. A bunch of bloody wankers. What do you say?
He was not pleased. I'd hate to be on the other end of that phone call.
Got to be Gene Haas. It's always Gene Haas.
He's like, God, I hope they should definitely have that on the next season of Drive. That one phone call. Just lead the season off with that.
Right after he does the drive through the mountainside with the new Ferrari boss like they did last season.
Oh man.
Yeah, then in eighth you had a rookie, Piastri, scored his first points of his Formula One career.
There you go.
Came away with 4 points for McLaren. And you had Joe for Alfa Romeo coming in ninth, getting them 2 points. And then you had Yuki finally got over that 11th place hump and got him.
Yeah.
And got that 1 point.
Got that 1 point, baby.
AlphaTauri
on the board.
There was a lot of yelling on the radio by him. They didn't show it though, but
I need that. I need that feed to Yuki.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it the week before Yuki? They just had Yuki on the
screaming.
Ah! It's like, God, what is going on? So yeah, those are all the points finishers. One, I think it's the biggest call out from the points finishers. No Ferraris. Ferrari didn't score any points this last weekend, and they had one car finish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, Charles got spun on lap 1, turn 3 by Lance Stroll. No penalty on that, so he was out of the race there.
Racing incident.
And then Carlos didn't score any points because he had a 5-second penalty, which resulted in him dropping out of the points on not a racing incident. He hit the back tire of Fernando, and Fernando spun.
Yep.
So that was pretty dangerous driving, I was told. So he had a 5-second penalty
on a restart.
Well, yeah, there's a whole list of things that's problematic about that.
Yeah. So I guess big call outs from the race after getting through the points finishers it was nice to see Mercedes out there take the lead 1-2 for a little bit while it lasted. Yeah. Just to see something new out there. They looked like they had Max's number for a little bit, at least while Lewis was in DRS range, and he could kind of keep Max back there a little bit. But I mean, at this point in the season, I think that may be the only way you can beat them. It's just like by having two of your cars
Two.
in front
Yeah.
of,
Two.
and one using the DRS to try to keep the other behind.
They were surviving with that, but you'd have to think at some point if that was going on without any red flags or safety cars or anything, Max would push the envelope a little bit at some point, and once he gets past one guy, then it's over. Which I'm sure he knew, because there's a different Max Verstappen we're watching now who doesn't really, he's not worried
Very
like he
calm.
was. Yeah, exactly.
Very
Kind of
calm.
like what happened at turn one. Yeah, George did great, made a great move, overtook for the lead, but usually Max is a little more dangerous than what he did, just because he must know he's just going to overtake him again soon.
Yeah. I think that car, he knows that car well enough that no matter what, early in that race, he could. I mean, we saw him start from the back of the pack.
Yeah.
And what he did, he still made a podium, right? Or very close. Did he get on the podium? Second.
Yeah.
Yeah. To Perez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if it wasn't Perez, he might have pushed the envelope to get first.
Exactly.
So he knows that car. He knows that they're going to be the best car on the track. He just has to be the best driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw a thing where they were talking to Max, and he was just talking about how there's no reason for him to be aggressive on the starts because he knows it. Like he knows that they have the fastest car, so
Just got to keep his nose clean. He knows that.
You just got to get through the first corner, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get hit. And I mean, this isn't going to change the championship. Like it's over, but can we agree that this wasn't a great weekend for Max? With he spun out, and he had some issues clearly, but
he ran off the track.
Didn't really obviously matter to win, and it's not going to matter in the championship. But things were a little weird, so I don't know if it's car thing or do you call it lazy? Do you call it bored? Maybe it's even something like that, or maybe just he makes some mistakes. You're allowed to make some mistakes, so maybe it's that too.
Things just bored up front.
Yeah,
you get too comfortable and you make one mistake. I mean, you think he lost 4 seconds, and Lewis still couldn't sniff him.
Yeah, because he dropped from 13 seconds ahead down to 9 seconds ahead.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
He did a couple more times, and it gets a little dicey for him. But yeah, he's got nothing really to worry about.
He just up there doing his taxes in the car and just making dinner reservations, calling Uber Eats.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Checking his Uber Eats order.
From what you said about the Mercedes, which is where we went on to Max here, I'm feeling pretty positive, especially because they say there's going to be big changes to the car, which they must know is going to make it even better, because it definitely has at least looked like it improved from the first race. Maybe it's track, maybe it's not, but they could solidify as number 2 pretty quickly here.
Well, that's what I've been reading, that these tracks favor Mercedes a lot because there's not a lot of tire wear, and they're not having to spend a lot of time thinking about tires. They can just do their thing, and some of these other tracks are what's going to give them problems. But hopefully they say they got upgrades.
Yeah.
We know the championship is pretty much sealed up, but the Constructors' Championship placing is a big deal. So that second, third, fourth is going to at least be exciting to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Fernando said after the race, he was saying how he envisions the competitive order to change a lot now, because he says like a lot of the car, like we were saying, I think the cars outside of the Red Bull are a lot closer than they have been. So he was saying like with whoever gets on top of upgrades could easily shoot up from being like a midfield car to being trying to be on podiums every week.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it. Fifth, sixth place could definitely finish second, third.
Yeah. You could easily shoot up from fighting for like 9th, 10th to be fighting for 4th, 5th, So.
You know who I'm going to bring up, who I think could definitely be on the podium if they don't crash each other anymore.
Who's that?
Pierre might have been my driver of the day until he crashed his teammate. Now he's no longer the driver of the day.
That was one of the what was that? That was one of the 14 red flags we had this past weekend.
Yeah, I think this might be the most stoppages that I've watched in a race.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
3 red flags is the most ever, or in like many years.
Yeah, to see actual red flags and not safety cars or virtual safety cars, that was a big deal. That was the first, and then honestly, it just made me mad because I'm like, this race, I recorded it, and thank God I recorded it for I think it was an hour, maybe it was 2 hours afterwards because I needed every second of that recording to watch this race.
Yeah, what do you think about? It's clear that the people running this sport now are like looking to make sure that it's entertaining all the time. And we saw that then when they tried to do it with the red flag with and then 2 laps remaining kind of thing this time. Do we
Mhm.
think that we're going to see more races, not 3 red flags, but similar to this, where they're going to do red flags instead of like a long safety car for that purpose to get more racing laps, or how do you see this the rest of the season going with how many red flags?
I don't I don't know. It's hard to say because I think it's like half and I think it's like half and half. Like the people who probably are making the decisions are more worried about putting on a show,
Hmm.
but like they'll have pushback from the teams who are just saying no, it needs to be about it needs to be sport first, then show second.
Right.
I think you're gonna have that kind of issue. So it's like who wins out on that fight? Who wins out on that combo? The
I think the
team,
teams win.
the
Teams
teams and the
have to win.
drivers,
I think they
or
should, yeah. I think it should come down to the sport. Now, I mean, I love being entertained, but the idea, and I don't really like Max, you know that, but the idea of Max being up by how much he was, and they put the red flag out there instead of finishing the race on the safety car, and it could have screwed Max out of the win. Like, I don't love that. I would have loved to watch the entertainment part of it if it happened, but I don't love that they can control it so easily.
Well, I mean, I think Max was up like 10 seconds
Hmm.
before that red flag came out.
Right.
So you're right. He would have clearly won, but Max won a championship kind of the same way
I know. Yeah.
off of mixiness with the FIA trying to make a show and not with the actual sport.
Hmm.
yeah. And I
I
think
just
the
think it's too much
first,
carnage, too many cars, too much damage. You keep doing this, teams are going to be like, well, we got a salary cap. We only have so much money. We can't have this happen for the entertainment part unless you're going to allow us to spend more money.
Hmm.
yeah, I think the first issue of them trying to make it a show was when they brought the red flag out on lap 9 for Albon when Albon spun and I guess they said kicked up a bunch of
Rocks, it's gravel.
a bunch of gravel on the track
Hmm.
instead of that could have easily been like a safety car type thing because it wasn't on like they could it was a granted there was a lot of gravel on the track, but if you're behind the safety car, you got enough time for when they pass that part of the track. You got another couple minutes for the track crew to get out there and try to get all that stuff off the track so they can go. But that
I
just
think a
didn't
red flag
seem
was excessive. It was a lot.
Yeah.
it didn't seem like a worthy type of red flag worthy type of incident.
Right.
And then it's also other than that, and that it screwed everybody who had pitted under that first safety car and gotten off those medium tires, which was really a good call because it kind of caught George out too, which Mercedes pitted him from the lead, and that red flag kind of screwed him. I mean, it turned out not being able it not meaning anything for George in the end
Yeah,
because,
but still, I
but
mean,
yeah, they kind of screwed everybody who went out on a limb and made that call, which probably would have ended up being a good call in the end.
Well, George went from first to seventh, and then
Yeah,
after the red flag came out, he ended up being 14th. So he went pretty far back
I
after
just
that decision.
the fact that they can call for a safety car and then essentially change their mind and turn it into a red flag. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like I know that there must be some decision making process, but like it's almost like they're baiting people to try to pit and then waiting a little bit longer and then changing everything when people have already, you know, gone after the fact that it was a safety car. That's my main issue here. You can't go yellow and then go red like that.
Well, do you think they just feel like they can escalate it, but they can't de-escalate it? Like they can't call the red flag and then drop it to a safety car. They feel like they can do the safety car first as a safety measure, and then they can evaluate. It gives them time. But how long was that? Maybe was it a half a lap? Maybe was it a full lap? I don't remember exactly.
I feel like if Sainz and Russell both were able to pit, it had to have been.
I think what was it? Albon spun on lap 7, and then Mercedes pitted George on lap 8. Then they threw red flag on lap 9.
So Albon was somewhere like in the in the middle of the pack behind George, obviously. And what was it, like turn 3 he crashed or something early in the lap? So then George finished the lap he was on, which was ahead of Albon, and then came in. So yeah, half a lap or so, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, and they didn't throw the red flag until after those pit stops were done.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So it's like, and then I don't know, how do you guys feel about the red flag rules in general? Like just being able to change parts, change tires, and all of that.
I think it just needs to be uniform. So if you're going to do it, I think that it should maybe be a tire change, but I guess that's a free pit stop. So I don't know, man. It might be better off that if it's just because it's a free stop. It's not even like it's a safety car where you're just getting some time. You're essentially getting a free stop. So I think maybe they should just, you bring the car and then you can't work on it. I think that's probably best.
That's the rule in NASCAR. If it's red flag, you can't touch the car.
Yeah. I think, wow, they might have got something right over there.
You can't touch the car with red flag.
I got an idea about the red flags. If they were to call me, I would have pitched this to them. So you can still fix your car, because the argument is, what if you picked up damage from the wreck? Like if someone wrecked and you ran through some shit, so you have to fix your tires because of that. You're allowed to fix your car, but you have to take whatever the amount of time is for a regular pit stop, which again, we know each track is different. So let's just say 20 seconds. So at the time of the crash, that's how many places you go back. So as an example,
Jesus.
But it's not like when everyone's bunched up again. It's like the real gaps that it was before the crash happened. So Albon crashes. George is, his 20 seconds behind George is like third place, let's say. But if they were bunched up, he'd be like in last. He gets to change his stuff during the red flag if he wants to, but that means he goes to third because of that. That's what the gap was when the crash happened. That's the only way to do it, I think. That's what I would tell them if they called me.
Man, we can't even get the restarts right, so I don't know if they'll ever get that right.
I know. I mean, they got GPSs and they got timing on everything. They can make this precise.
Yeah, man. I don't know. What do you think, Lonnie?
I don't think you should be able. I think you should be able to, if you have damage, like certain damage to your car, you should be able to fix just because it's a safety issue. But as in being able to change tires, it doesn't benefit anybody except for the people who, most times it just benefits people who hadn't pitted yet.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I had gotten my strategy great and I got in and I was good for an undercut, and then somebody screws up and throws their car in the gravel and brings out a red flag, then my good strategy call means nothing now.
Well, then that means that we have to prove what was damaged. They're like, oh, well, we ran in gravel. These tires are not.
That's why I say certain things. Like if you have like, say you have like wing damage, something you could easily see. You should be able, you can change your wing because that's
okay.
Because there may be a piece hanging off, and that's a
safety issue.
Further bring out another safety car. But as in changing tires and all, I don't think you should be able to. I don't think you should be able to do that. You just, and I mean, I guess they would say it's a disadvantage for the cars who hadn't pitted too if a red flag comes out, because then they got to pit under green after that. But I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes. Like you
Well, that's
just
where
got it, you
NASCAR got
got
it
it
right.
wrong. But I mean,
Yeah.
you can't just, because it just seems like in that instance you're only helping out the leaders. You're only helping out who's
Whoever stayed out.
Who's waiting?
you're
Yeah.
only helping out who's in front.
Right.
So I mean, but man,
Well, especially,
FIA is not gonna listen to us.
I mean, I'm hoping we yell enough, maybe they'll call us. But
Well,
this,
I'm sure the media is probably giving them a lot. I mean, with the constant, like all I heard was people complaining about these red flags and how it kind of ruined the race.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
especially because it was a
nobody.
one-stop race, anyways. As soon as that first early crash happened, everyone was able to pit, and then essentially no one needed to pit the rest of the race.
Yeah, well, I think almost everybody switched. They were on mediums. Most people started mediums, and
Mhm.
and lap 7 they were on hards, and that was enough to go through the race. From
Right.
what they said the tire ratings were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that red flag had come out, it was Red Bull was the only team who still had 2 new sets of hard tires.
Okay.
So they were set for the end of it.
They could have ran
Yeah.
2 races.
They could have done anything.
Yeah.
So you had that you had Sergio moving up through the field. Carlos started moving up through the field too after he got screwed on those pit stops. That was around the time they told Alonso to start pressuring Hamilton, which we thought was going to turn into something, but never did.
Never panned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, I think Mercedes had maybe played a little possum with, I think they played a little possum with Alpine. I mean, well, gosh, not
Wow.
Alpine anymore.
Throwback. Can I talk about this Mercedes playing possum thing? Can the announcers stop anytime Lewis says anything on the radio? The announcers are like, "Oh, maybe he's just saying that. It's not real." Anytime he says anything, can we just stop with that?
He's struggling. Lewis is struggling on tires.
Exactly. Like, oh, maybe he's just saying that to make Ferrari think something. Like, no, I don't think they're that smart. Stop. It can't be every time he says something he's messing with us.
But they believe it because they said maybe he's struggling on tires, and then they told Fernando to push Hamilton because he may be struggling on tires.
That's what I'm saying. It does work, but God, like.
And then Lewis showed him otherwise.
Yeah.
But they said all those teams did really well on tires. They said, well, Red Bull is probably the best team, but they were saying that Aston Martin they're really good with their tires. Something about them being able to keep the tire temperature at a certain rate. So they're able to make that happen. Mercedes struggled with it, but at tracks like this, it wasn't no issue. And then with them, it seems like Lewis was really feeling himself. I think he really likes this track because he performed.
So the moral of the story is to not listen to Lewis on the radio.
True.
That's what I think.
True.
I really don't listen to
anything
that he says at all. He seems like one of those guys like, I can't tell, so I'm just not going to listen to you.
Oh yeah. So then other Mercedes news right after that, right around that time, that's when George went kaboom and lost the engine on the front stretch. And one thing about that is like that car was on fire, and George was like, "Cool," a little slow to get out of that
fire
car.
coming out of that thing.
Real cool.
Yeah, I was looking at it, I was like, "Hey, George, the car's on fire, man. You might want
to have some urgency."
Yeah, like I told y'all, if anyone didn't see this part of the race, if you've seen the first Fast and Furious movie with the flames coming out of the exhaust, that's what I thought. When he's stopping the car, it's just right out of the exhaust like that. Nuts.
I think that was what, lap 18?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Didn't give a hoot. So George car is on fire, parked at the pit exit, virtual safety car for that. DRS zone right there and everything. That's a virtual safety car though.
Yeah, open flame.
Yeah.
We got to write a letter.
But and another thing, it was crazy like going through there is like how fast the Alpines were.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were really fast on the like, especially on the straights, like in the DRS zone.
They look real good.
Yeah.
They found some pace this week.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
Gasly
look
looked
really
good. Not to hate on Ocon, but Gasly was way up there most of the race, which was nice to see.
Yeah, it's crazy how Gasly has gone right into that team and just like been into points every week so far.
He's got something to prove. He wants
Yeah,
to get back in that Red Bull seat.
yeah, I think those days are gone.
Stay away, Pierre.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I don't know why you would want to be Max's teammate right now.
Nah.
Yeah. So then you got you so the race goes along pretty tame at like that middle part of the race was pretty tame. That's when we started to see that Alonso really couldn't catch Hamilton. So everybody else started catching Alonso. And that's when Lewis came on the radio and said, it was my favorite line of the race. He's like, these guys behind a quick mate, and then it's like that's the fastest lap. Like, these guys behind a quick mate.
Every time he
like,
talks,
then sets fastest lap. I was like, oh my gosh.
There was a few guys competing with that fastest lap for a good little while. Mm-hmm. It changed a few times.
Yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah, I think that was the thing where you could tell like everybody was just managing tires through that middle part of the race.
Yeah,
and, like, people were just babysitting them, and then they'll go for one lap, and then next thing you know, fastest lap.
Mm-hmm.
So, are y'all impressed by Pirelli's tires so far? Because it seemed like that's what the talk was. The big change was going to be the tires, and I mean, that's something we talk about every week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to compare them when you. It's also hard to compare them when you're not going against anybody else either.
That's true. Well, I hear they're bringing softer compounds to the next race, which is in 2 weeks. So we'll find out with the softer compounds if they hold up, because the hard compounds now, they're running the piss out of these things. Like they're getting good wear, they're getting good runs out of them. They're lasting forever. So we'll see how they mix it up with these softer compounds and who takes the risk of using them and how long they actually last.
Yeah, I'm excited about the next race because I would rather the softer compounds be used like they in the Pirelli range, just to make it so races are 2 stops, maybe 3 stops, because that just brings some more drama into it. That's
more
not
risk,
crash.
More risk.
Yeah, exactly. That would be wonderful. Well, these 1-stop races are just it's either crash heavy or it's just boring because there's only one pit stop.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of takes out like the strategy aspect of of it when there's everybody just doing one stops. Yeah. One stop strategy just takes all the strategy out. I mean, what's the strategy you're going to be like? I'm pitting 3 laps after somebody else. Like that's it.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm a push these hot tires hard because I'm a pit twice.
Right.
And then be faster at the end of the race. But it's not, all that goes away now.
Yeah. I love those races where you think maybe the faster car pits late and drops back down to like 4th or 5th and they're trying to get back on the podium with brand new tires. That's where I enjoy watching the race.
Yeah.
Well, races are won and lost in the pits also. It's like just that element of having to do something other than just drive the car. Like you never know if one wheel has a hard time coming off or they're having trouble putting a wing on. Like it adds that a little bit more excitement into it, which I mean, I'm all about the drama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though usually my team fails in the pits, I've seen it happen multiple
It seemed like it was more a Bottas thing. We have seen some of stuff, but I always feel like Bottas had bad luck.
Not the kings of the double stack. They started that. Very good.
Yeah, but
that's nice.
It looks good when it works.
Yeah. And you know, what was it? Going on through that race, like Lando and Nico had a pretty good battle there for a couple laps.
Yeah,
that was good to see. Then Lando Then Lando finally got by him. I thought that was probably the best pass I saw all day.
Yeah, Lando actually had a really, really good race. It was good to see him do well because he had pace in the very first race, but he was running from behind because he was having issues with his car.
Oh yeah, and all the pit stops. Yeah.
Yes, but like when he was actually out on the track, he had pace. It's just he had to keep coming in. So it was good to actually see him out in the car and it performing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then right after that, on lap 54, you had Magnussen hit the wall, lost a tire.
Dude, he hit that wall
flying.
hard.
Yeah.
The fact that the whole rim came off of it, they said he just kept hitting the edge of the track really, really hard until it eventually just gave way. Like he just constantly kept hitting the same part of the track.
Oh wow.
And then because
So
what we
kept
saw
going off the road until it was just a big enough dent in the
I just
grass.
thought it was like he like had the sun in his eyes or some shit.
Yeah, because they showed you like where the tire hit the wall. Well, that was when the tire had came off of the car and hit the wall.
Oh wow.
And it came off the car on the track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, shit. Thankfully, nobody got hurt there because a whole tire was just bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that.
So did that cause a red flag? That was worthy.
That one was more. That one was more worthy than the first one. For sure. Because there was just a loose tire and a loose car.
There's like that one might have been okay because like how do you get the safety car and then whatever it was 18 other cars past it safely?
Yeah, there were parts everywhere when he hit the wall.
Yeah,
it was just like, So then the red flag came out, and that made it a 2-lap race there. And then so that sets up Max and Lewis 1-2 from a start, a 2-lap race.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded great. The drama was great. I was in the house. I stood up. I turned the TV all the way up like I was really at the race. I'm clapping my hands. Let's go.
Do a little bit of this. Like this is what I was saying earlier. Like not great, shitty for Max that he was gonna coast to the victory, and now all of a sudden he's got all this pressure on him. So
for one restart, after bad restarts, the whole race.
Yeah,
the two restarts before that were
Russell.
bad.
Yeah.
So he had lost position on both of the starts before that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself,
I guess that's why he lined up the way he did.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently everything was okay, even though that camera angle you sent us from above, it clearly looked like he was over the line, but apparently
the nose does not matter.
Right, yeah.
It's the tire they said the tire just barely hit the white line. Mm-hmm. That's what matters.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But they were going to tell us that anyway.
He was scared. That means he was scared of Lewis.
It's another stupid rule. It's another stupid rule because the box is shaped like the front wing
of the car.
Yeah.
So whatever, man. It's just, but I was just laughing about how he just like the angle he put on that when he went there for the start.
He's like, I'm getting into the inside of this turn. Yeah, there's no way. Like, right at Lewis. He parallel parked it in there.
I was like, yeah, if Lewis gets a good start, he's gonna push Lewis right in the grass over there.
I was like you, Mike. I was like, man, this could get crazy like it did a couple years ago because I mean for everybody too, but just at the front, like Lewis really wants to win again, and this is it. He can actually hold the lead because of no DRS. So what's gonna happen? And then
chaos happened. Chaos is what happened.
Yeah.
So
and I feel bad because you know what? Them wrecking the cars wasn't even their fault. This restart should have never happened. It should have never happened. It shouldn't have done it. They should have just went under caution or under the safety car and ended the race because all it did was do more harm than anything. It had us sorting out all kinds of penalties. Who was supposed to
turn into a NASCAR race at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cars were everywhere. They were all in the grass, broke,
quick,
wrecked, on fire. Everything was
dude. So Max stays ahead of Lewis. call me out if I'm wrong about what happens next. So Max stays ahead of Lewis. Carlos hits Fernando. Fernando spins out. He's not wrecked, but he's spun out. And then Gasly like goes wide and then comes back on the track thinking that he's for some reason in the clear, even going slower than everybody else, and then he hits his teammate and they crash into the wall and crash each other.
It's like he didn't even notice anybody was beside him. Like he was on the inside.
Yeah.
And he just started coasting out to the right, like to the wall, and his teammate is literally right beside him and left him nothing.
And Gasly had just been wide, so he's clearly not going as fast as everybody else. Doesn't want to look in his mirror. Like, what? How could you think that was okay?
It was so bad. It was bad, but I'm like, this shouldn't even happen. And then it cost them points, so they both do not finish. And then it caused Ferrari to get no points.
Yeah.
Like it became a mess. It was a mess. And then they tell us that whole restart didn't count because we're going with the order that started on the restart. But the penalty still stands from a lap that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the red flag comes out again, and that's the whole rule that we're confused about, where if the race restarts like it did and they don't make it to the end of the first sector, which at this track is what, Lonnie? Like you said, like 35, 40 seconds?
Yeah, maybe like 30 seconds down the road.
If the leader doesn't make it that far, then apparently the GPSs and the timing screens haven't registered anything. So we revert back to the order before the race was restarted instead of what the order is after, some passes and whatever else may have happened in that small amount of time. So everything's reverting back except for the fact that Carlos spun out Fernando and they give Carlos a penalty. But that part of the race shouldn't count, essentially, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, thought it didn't count. So,
they like Fernando, man.
The only thing that counted about that little piece of the race was, sorry, Carlos, you're in the back of the pack now. Everything else didn't even count, except for the cars who crashed too, I guess.
Listening to them try to strategize how he can try to hold up people behind him and then speed up to try to
I know. I thought
he limit the damage, and I was like,
the whole section, and then speed up at the end, and hopefully like get a couple extra places out of it.
Even the penalty is bogus because it's like you're giving a 5-second penalty, and then you're going to finish the race under the safety car. Like what's going to happen.
And Fernando still got the spot that he had before. That's Mike. I think that's the biggest thing for me. They penalize. Usually these penalties are incurred because, okay, well, you spun the guy out and now that guy can't finish where he would have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they reverted back. So Fernando still got to be in the spot he was. And then they send Carlos to the back. That makes no sense.
Because he lost, like 11 positions, 10 positions? He went from
fourth, right? And he finished in 12th?
It was 11th or 12th.
Well, he officially finished in 12th, which was last of the people who finished. But he was in fourth, right? Because Fernando was in third at the restart, and then Carlos was in fourth.
Okay, so he went back 8 spots.
The worst part about it, to me, was that Lance got to keep fourth. Because after the wreck, Lance locks up, shoots through the gravel on turn 3, goes to the back of the field. But hey, you didn't get through the first sector, so
I think
good.
Lance, it doesn't matter that you screwed up and locked up the brakes going into turn 3. All is forgiven. We'll give you fourth back.
Yeah,
that's insane, man.
For me, it's a tie between Fernando and Lance for the luckiest for that revert back to have happened. They both got super lucky.
Papa Stroll is really excited about those points that they were given.
And 1 week after Fernando had the podium taken away and then given back. So some fishy happening. Some fishy happening.
They like Fernando, man.
He's their golden child right now. They love Fernando.
Because he seems so happy on the radio. He's the first F1 driver I've heard say, "This car is wonderful to drive during a race."
Yeah,
that's what happens when you go from losing being in the back of the field.
I know.
Because he's the same guy who told McLaren they had a GP2 engine in the car on the radio.
He said in his older age that he's starting to do better.
It wasn't that long ago.
He just had to taste losing a little bit to realize, I should be a nicer guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much a recap of the finishing order. You had, what was it? It's a crazy amount of DNFs that race. It was only 12 cars finished the race, and we went through the top 10. So 11th was Bottas, and 12th was Sainz, who got the penalty.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody else didn't finish the race. So
it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's 8. But Gasly and Ocon were the very end. Was Sargent at the end too?
It was. Yeah, we didn't include that. Sargent ran into the back of De Vries.
Yeah.
While the Alpines were running into each other.
Yeah.
Magnussen.
He hit his.
Magnussen was the one right before that. He was the reason that everybody wrecked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then
Russell. We can put it all on Kevin. He's the reason that all of this happened.
Put it all on Gene Haas.
Gene. We're gonna do better, Gene.
But yeah, I told you earlier. You asked me. I said I was bored of the race. And that's unfair because of what we just talked about. It was ridiculous. But I'd rather a cleaner race with more pit stops, as I've said. I don't need all these red flags to generate drama. I get why they're doing it, I guess, but I don't like it.
They said they want real racing laps. They said that they don't want to see a bunch of safety cars and virtual safety cars because now these are pointless laps. They would rather just red flag it and give us more racing laps. But if it keeps messing with the flow of the actual race, do I like that they bunched the cars back up? Somewhat, but it's too much. It's too much. It becomes more of a headache, and we're dealing with this sprint race at the end of the race every time. And these guys are competitors. They're going to wreck. They're going to do whatever they can to try to get some kind of edge. And it's over. So no.
That's the difference between a red flag and the safety car, because they're really gonna be bunched up when they starting from a standstill like that,
right
after a red flag.
And so much opportunity for carnage and chaos, like we saw on the last one.
I tell you who it sucks for. It sucks for the people who are out there, like the fans who are out there at the race, to come out there, stay out there all day like that, and that's how the race ends like that. It's just like.
Yeah.
And then they make them go back out there, which I don't understand that either.
Yeah.
They have all this stuff that happened, all this wreckage happen. They bring everybody into the pits just to go under safety car and bring you back to the front again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I bet Lewis is wishing they did that in Abu Dhabi.
Bruh. Don't get me started on that. I've already ranted enough tonight. I don't want to rant against CFI anymore.
Dude. And that's all I thought about it. I was like, how do you unlap half the cars? And we didn't have no kind of organization to none of this. Man, they did that on the fly for nothing. No, we're just stopping everything. Stop it all.
That's my favorite line of Toto. It was like, Michael, this is not right.
That's just triggering, man. I wouldn't even watch that last episode of Drive because of that. It hurt so bad.
Michael, no.
And they make it really dramatic. That last episode, whew. God. We should just do a podcast when we're bored about that, so we can all just yell for an hour and people can listen to us yell.
Just recapping that.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
Oh man.
Well, we got Azerbaijan. Currently, we're obviously late on this recap. It's April 10th. The race is April 30th, so we got a little bit of time before the next one.
Got a good break here going in after the first 3 races.
Yeah.
Just seems like it's too much.
Two big gaps. With all these races this season, and we got all these gaps early in the season, is weird.
Logistics, fellas. Logistics. It's hard for the teams to travel.
Yeah. Tell them that when I got to fly from Vegas to Abu Dhabi in 1 week. How is that? Doesn't make any sense.
True. Yeah, it doesn't matter then.
Yeah. Well, they just think the season's going to be over by then anyways. Max will have it sealed up. No one will care.
Yeah.
I'm sure that should be the situation.
It's going to be early this year.
Azerbaijan with that long front straightaway and that Red Bull. Whew.
Game over.
Looking like a 1-2, boys.
Yeah,
Looking like a Red Bull 1-2.
Unless we can get them to mess up it's a sprint race though, right? It's not regular qualifying, so we get a sprint race on that.
Well, that's even worse because there's no pit stops, and they're going to qualify 1-2 or whatever they qualify, and they're going to win the sprint race.
Yeah, they're going to walk away with that sprint.
That's going to be easy money right there.
It's just going to be following each other, just zooming away from people who got DRS behind them. They don't have any DRS, and you still can't pass them.
Yeah. Don't even need it. Perez gonna get that toe around He's gonna have an easy day.
Yeah.
So with all that, who did y'all think that had the best race?
I got my answer, but Lonnie, you can go first.
Gosh. Who do I think had the best race?
I mean, I'll go first.
We got.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I'm going to say the best was, I feel like Perez. Perez had the best race. Even though I'm Mr. Lewis Hamilton guy, from Perez starting from the pits and finishing in what, 4th?
5, but yeah.
5th. He had the best racing. He had to go through he went through the whole field. And maybe if he didn't have all those stops and he was able to actually keep the car on the track, he probably could have made up some more positions.
Yep. I was kind of surprised he didn't get higher up, to be honest.
I thought he was going to get a podium spot.
Yeah, I just figured.
I mean, he went from 20th to 13th in I think it was 15 laps or something like that. It wasn't long.
I know the DRS zones aren't super long there, but when I've heard there was going to be 4, I was like, oh yeah, doesn't matter for Sergio. He's good. You can just use the DRS to get all the way back up there.
Yeah.
I think my driver of the race was probably Lando.
Okay.
Sherry would be really excited about that for you.
Yeah, I thought Lando. Because I mean, he caught a tough break. He had it tough those first 2
weeks.
Those 2 races, first 2 weeks, and then to come through and get that and round up that many points for his team. I mean, I think he had the drive. He was my driver of the day.
Mm-hmm. I don't really have a great answer because, as I said earlier, it would have been Gasly, but then he hit his teammate, so it can't be Gasly. So my answer is our boy Yuki.
In the points, baby.
Hey, he didn't crash like everybody else. He got a point, and the AlphaTauri is not good. So Yuki is my driver of the day.
He didn't crash. I did see that your boy Logan apologized to DeVries after the crash, which he called a pretty weird crash.
Oh, was it just not braking fast enough?
Literally just ran right into the back of him.
Okay, yeah, I thought that was a good quote that he called it a pretty weird crash.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, it was weird, all right.
Yeah, just plowed right into the back of your car. It's like somebody's grandma at the intersection just ran right in the back. Forgot where the brake was.
Reaction time not there today, huh, Logan?
Well, we've done that. So who is the garbage truck driver of the day?
Exactly. Garbage truck driver of the day.
Hey, I'll go again early.
We got
those guys, the FIA who was throwing all these red flags.
Okay.
Whew. They were the garbage truck drivers that ruined most of this race for us.
Yep. Mine is someone who didn't crash, but he really sucked during the race. Lance.
Whoa.
Lance spun a guy out and then locked up and ran off the track and still got what did he get? 6th.
I mean, I really thought you would give it to Valtteri.
Nah, he's close to my heart. You know that. I love both guys.
That's who I'm giving it to.
Yeah. If I didn't give it to the FIA, he was that guy.
Man,
that's who I'm giving it to. He didn't do anything.
I'm so sad for him. Yeah, exactly. He's not.
I gotta get a trash truck sound for this.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to do that. We got to get the sound and he'll get it almost every week. He has been awful. And I don't know if it's just him or it's the car, but he doesn't seem like you don't even hear about him on the radio.
Yeah, I don't really know the answer to that. Whether it just Alfa Romeo in general is just no one cares, or is it just him that doesn't care?
Yeah. And then I saw a report from it. It said Valtteri wants like an investigation into the pace concerns of the Alfa Romeo. Like, hey, but your teammates score points. It's like
exactly.
You were the one who didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Tough sledding for him, it looks like.
Yeah.
That mullet's not saving him. That mullet and those farmer tan lines isn't saving him out there. We see him.
He's just leaning into crazy.
All the jokes aren't funny anymore now, but I'll tell you, you got a race.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our recap for the Aussie. We can call it the Aussie 500 NASCAR.
Yeah. Aussie red flag.
Yeah.
The Aussie 500.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
We don't want to see
an ideal. It was a sucky way for the race to end. I mean, I feel like they thought they were helping, but they actually didn't.
Right.
So
they tried.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess you live and you learn. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. But I saw some of the team principals were saying that they didn't have a problem with the rules. So.
Okay, well maybe Mike, what you said earlier about
they didn't have a problem with the restart rules.
Okay.
Like the restart rules of going back to the previous lap. That's what they didn't have an issue with, not the penalties or
okay.
Things like that. They didn't have an issue with going back to the previous lap with the timing and all that. Some of them did.
Well,
they didn't not Gunther though. They didn't talk about Gunther when they were talking about it because that guy he had a problem.
Yeah. I mean, we mentioned it, but we didn't really talk about the fact that Hülkenberg, who ended up finishing 7th, if they
would have been on the podium. Right?
Yeah, exactly. If they didn't revert back, like, you know, how we talked about all that, he would have finished in 4th with Carlos in 3rd. And then Carlos would have got the 5-second penalty. And then Nico would have been 3rd.
Yeah, we did. That's why we didn't touch on that. After all the carnage, Nico was in 3rd place.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you would think Alpine would be upset about it.
Yeah, but you can't. You can't bring the red flag out and then then say, "Hey, what about us?"
I mean, positive overall. I'm looking forward to Alpine the rest of the year, but they got no leg to stand on.
They look good.
Crash. I thought they would be battling a lot more. They don't seem like they're battling each other as much as I thought they would.
They got time.
Still early.
I told them the next race was when I said Vegas. I think I said maybe the 4th or 5th race I thought they'll be fighting. So we still got a little bit of time left.
Yeah,
well, they've already wrecked each other. So now it's beef already. So it's just gonna get worse from here.
What do we got? We got Azerbaijan, and the next week is Miami.
Yeah.
So you got 2 straight street courses.
2 straight. Okay, yep. And then we got a week off, and then we got back-to-back Italy and Monaco.
Oh, we got street races though. That sounds like that could be Perez could step up and make a challenge.
That's right.
He likes it.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope so. Give us something to look at the front.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not confident in it. I'm not confident in it. I don't think Max is gonna let him pass him anyway. So
yeah, I think Max would rather crash him. It's gonna be another Lewis situation. Yeah. Well, if Max is in the lead in the championship, he'll just crash out Perez.
Max would rather take both of them out than have Sergio
pass. Yeah. Yeah. We know how he feels about finishing 2nd. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's all I have for recap. Do y'all have anything else to add about the Aussie GP or?
Nah,
pretty good.
Glad it's over.
I'm ready to see more racing. I think somebody put me onto a documentary about F1 that I'm gonna probably end up watching this week because
Which one was it?
I think it's called Rush. It's on
it's a movie.
Netflix.
Yeah.
So
Is that the movie?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, that's the movie Rush.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody sent it
Nikki.
to me and was like, "Yo, you need to watch it." So I'm gonna go watch it, and
It's cool.
gives me something to do while we got this downtime.
It's either that or watch the last episode of Drive to Survive from.
Nah, I'm gonna pass on that.
It's a real good Formula One doc out there that goes from like the very beginning all the way up to present day. It's a couple hours long though, so
okay.
I watched it on a flight one time and it was really good.
All right, you remember the name?
I gotta find it. I'll find it and then I'll send it out to y'all. I can't recall the name of it off the top of my head.
All right.
But it was really good. Probably one of the best ones I've seen. But
get to see all the
talks about like it goes through all like how dangerous it used to be and how like all the safety measures that they took. Like the drivers were just like they had to come to a point where the drivers were like, all right, we're not going out there until we get some better safety measures in place.
Wow.
Yeah. I know like Mercedes was out for a long time because they had some deaths. So people
used to die all the time.
Yeah.
People would die all the time. Then they had like it would be like some of their biggest stars were dying like on the dying during race weekend.
Yeah.
Can't
kill the product.
Yeah. So yeah, it goes up all the way throughout that timeline to up until where Ayrton Senna died. So that was really, I think, what changed a lot of that stuff. So
yeah, well, yeah,
I'll find it and I'll send it to y'all. Rush is good too, though. It's about Niki Lauda and James Hunt.
Okay,
you know Niki Lauda, who used to be around in the Mercedes garage all the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check it out, man. I think it was Dries. Dries had told me about it, so we can go check it out. I try to get a little more knowledge.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. It's still a movie, but so it's like big on the drama. How movies are. So yeah, but yeah, it's a good watch. So I guess we'll reconnect again after the Azerbaijan race in a couple weeks here.
2 more weeks.
And we'll hopefully we'll have something more to talk about other than Red Bull DRS, which I fear that's going to be the discussion.
Hopefully Leclerc can finish a race in 2 weeks. How about that? Or whenever.
Yeah, hopefully we can get some points. If we can get some points, I think I'll be happy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so wrapping up episode 3 of the Overcut podcast. I didn't do intros at the beginning, so I guess you intro yourself at the end. I'm LG. And
here we are. Who's listening still?
And your boy Mike. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, we're out. Classy.
All right.